So this does not need to be explained. I am deep into the Ryan Coogler of it all, but specifically Ryan Coogler's mind, right? I'm one of those people who love the work that creatives produce, but more importantly, how creators come to the point to produce what they are producing and who they are as humans and what is it that they go through to get to that point. I personally know the trials and tribulations that I went through to put on Beyond the Roots. It is literally so much to be a director, to be an actor, an actress. It's a lot. And then it's also a lot to be part of crew. And so, of course, I'm scrolling on the internet and I see that Ryan Coogler has done another interview. And in this interview, he talks about Chadwick Boseman. In the article, he states, engaging with him on an artistic level, conversations that will forever just be between me and him. I was about 30 years old, stressed, completely out of my mind, sleep deprived, convinced that the movie wasn't going to work. I robbed myself of truly enjoying that privilege, even of sitting there and enjoying the countless takes Chadwick Boseman takes because he didn't have a bad take. So when he passed, I'm like, oh my God, how much stuff have I not allowed myself to enjoy because I was in my own head, feeling like I was unworthy. I'm going to take the lessons from Chad for the rest of my life, bro. He continues with a smile, his voice going quiet. That includes all of this. I have to see the good in things, see the value in things, and not let imposter syndrome or guilt or negativity rob me of moments with my cast who I love or folks who want to say, hey, good job. I read that and I said, the way imposter syndrome robs you of all of the good, it robs you of being in the present. We need to talk about that today, right now. For those who don't know me, I'm Imani Adia, the founder of Soul 360 and creator of the Limitless Method. I help founders, creators, and leaders just like you to align with their most limitless self. So let's talk about imposter syndrome. When I read that quote or that article talking about Ryan Coogler, it really just shines a light, right? The people at the highest level of their industry, doing the highest level of work, have dealt with imposter syndrome. They have dealt with feeling unworthy. They have dealt with the negative moments and the negative thoughts consuming their mind where they miss the most important part, which is just them doing the work and being in the work, and not only doing the work, but really being present and enjoying it. And then after doing the work, being able to celebrate. I think so many times we get into our head, especially when we are crafting and putting things together about it being right and having this pressure on ourselves to make sure that we exceed, that we miss all the good that comes with just like simply doing the work. And as I say simply doing the work, I think about Toni Morrison. Like that's what I thought as soon as I read that. And her entire quote around the very function of racism is distraction. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. And I think not only your reason for being, but your reason for belonging, which is where imposter syndrome comes in, right? It's like, I don't belong in this circle. I don't belong in this room. I don't deserve to be in this room. And we talk ourselves out of the opportunities that we have prepared for. Like I think about Ryan Coogler and I'm like, how dare you say that? Because you did so much work to get where you are right now. You put in the work. You put in gaining the knowledge. You put in going through the classes. You put in getting the money together to even get to where you are right now. Like there were so many sacrifices that you made. There were so many challenges that you had to overcome. It's almost a slap in the face to yourself to say I don't belong here because I don't have quote unquote as many accolades as somebody in the room. But somebody in the room has X amount of more years of experience on you. It makes sense that they would have more accolades. And I really think about how he was second guessing himself during Black Panther. And not only in this article, but I saw him talk before where he was just like, I was worried they was going to fire me. like, you got the job for a reason. You're in the role for a reason. And it wasn't luck. It was preparation. You have prepared for this moment. And so in this moment, you have to trust yourself and you have to trust every little thing that you have done to get yourself here, because nothing was given to you. Nothing was given to you. You know that you have had to work so hard. Success isn't easy. Nothing was handed to you. You put in the work. So how can we do that to ourselves? How can we play ourselves short? And I can say this in a way that I understand because I've done it to myself. And on the other side of it, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of play with myself there. What not only happens, right, is you explaining your reason for belonging, but there's also this other aspect of not feeling worthy, right? There's this aspect of unworthiness. And so many times people talk about imposter syndrome and they name the emotion that's attached to it as fear. But I think when we dig deeper and we really get to the core of it, the real emotion that is there is unworthiness. And there's so much shame, right? And I think it's hurtful to ourselves to say, I don't feel worthy to be in this room. And it's something so hard to have to be honest with yourself about that is what you are feeling. And I remember the first time that I recognized it is when I was doing some work for myself, right? I was releasing emotions and I was stuck, right, in terms of being able to move forward in my business. And what really came up for me was this feeling of being unworthy of asking for what I am asking for. I thought about my age, I thought about who I was, and I thought about how my worth had always been tied to productivity. And I felt like I needed more under my belt to be able to be in a position where I was speaking to people about important topics that when I looked at who would be my quote unquote peers, there wasn't anybody my age. There were people with more experiences, but it doesn't mean that my experience is less. It doesn't mean that I haven't put in the work to understand these concepts, to be at the forefront of these concepts, to think and to do the research behind it. I have put in the work to be here. You just so happen to have some more years of work under your belt. But that doesn't disqualify or discount the work that I have done. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, first of all, worth has been tied to productivity, number one. But also, what do I think productivity is? But also, number two, I truly didn't understand the definition of worth because I was getting it mixed up with value. Every room I walk into, I'm worthy of. Every room I walk into, I'm worthy of. Every room you walk into, you are worthy of because you are simply breathing. Worth doesn't come from anybody else except here. Value. We can put some numbers on things, but worth, we can't. And so we really have to start separating the two. And when you start to truly understand how they are defined differently and cannot be used interchangeably, everything for you will change. Everything for you will change. And you will start to see that your worth never tied to productivity. That is something that you learned and you know deep down isn't true. It's just one of those things I know that I know that I know. It doesn't need any explanation. It is what it is. Another emotion that can come up, right, is also guilt. Talk about guilt in another video. I'll make sure to link it. But what I'll say quickly about guilt, especially as you move up in the world, especially when you are someone who's a part of a community where you don't see a lot of people at the level that you are at. There's a guilt where you may feel like you are leaving people behind. And it's like one of those things of like, how dare you elevate and not have us come with you? And I automatically think about Harriet Tubman. And what did Harriet Tubman teach us? Sometimes you have to go at it alone. And after you go at it alone, you can come back and bring people with you. Ryan Coogler went at it alone, but he never went alone. He always circles back to Michael, if you look at who does his music, he always circles back. If you look at even the young lady, I believe, I can't recall her name right now. Let me look her up. I'm about to look her up right now. The young lady who was actually a part of who actually did the production for Sinners and was in charge of camera work, for Sinners. And she recently won an award too. She was the cinematographer for Sinners, I believe. Autumn Durald. Autumn Durald was the person who worked on Sinners. She was the first DP to shoot in IMAX. So cool. Yeah. Yeah, so he goes at it alone, but he's never alone. And I think that's something that you have to keep in mind when you are elevating. But I think that's just in general. When you're someone who is bettering yourself and there's people who aren't bettering themselves at the same rate as you, it's a challenge. And you are going to have to, you're going to have to choose. And in that choice, you have to choose yourself. Because if you truly want to elevate, the people with you will not always go with you. And I think that's okay. And I do think that there is some guilt that comes up about like, oh, I'm leaving them behind. How can I do that? But I think about how you moving forward can possibly be a hand up. That is more powerful. Being able to elevate and then see someone and to help them with a hand up. And as we have these conversations, we really have to start having conversations around the emotions that we are carrying, because whatever belief that you have, it is strengthened by whatever emotion is attached to it. And so when you have an emotion like unworthiness and you have an emotion like guilt, which are heavy emotions that if you carry for them for a long time, they really start to weigh you down. And that's what he was experiencing. He was so weighed down by his emotions that he couldn't see all the good around him. He couldn't do the work in the way that the work is supposed to be done. And not literally. I just think he himself, he explains it, right? That there were some things that were amiss. And when you are truly doing the work in the way that I believe Toni Morrison is talking about doing the work, then in real time, you are able to appreciate the work that you are creating. In real time, you are able to see your own genius. In real time, you are able to appreciate and be in gratitude for what it is that you are working on and working in. And then after you're done doing the work, you can celebrate it in a way where you are just extremely proud of yourself just for doing the work. Not because you get an accolade, not because someone else says that the work is rich, but because it was rich because you did it and you finished it and you saw it through. And the cherry on top, right? The whipped cream is when the culture loves it, and the cherry on top is when you get the accolade. But I don't know about you, I don't need the cherry. But I do love me some whipped cream, and I do like the milkshake just in general. If you are someone that's dealing with imposter syndrome, I have my Raise the Bar course now live that you can get for a special price just for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking time and watching this video. Until next time, be limitless.